All right, good morning again. We're going to be having some beginner classes as we move into the next sessions. So I wanted to give my beginners a quick review, and of course my yellow belts can always review as well. You always need it. Everybody needs a review. Basics are just that. They're basics. So we're going to start off with stances because when I talk about things that can go wrong in form or whenever you're learning a new technique, 99% of the time, if I'm not doing it right or it doesn't feel right, I'm going to check my feet, because if my feet are wrong, everything else is wrong, okay? So a square stance, a square horse stance, is simply a training stance, okay? And we get there, how do you figure your stance? Well, I can turn my feet out, I turn my feet out, I turn my feet out, and I square up my heels, and I end up in about a double shoulder width stance. Now again, this is not a fighting stance. This is not something I'm going to defend myself from. This is simply a training stance. And the idea behind it is to learn how to center your weight in between your shoulders. Later, you're going to have to be able to do it on the move and find your spot, okay, all the time. But in the beginning, this is a nice way to say to yourself, I'm not over this knee, I'm not over this knee, I'm between my knees. And that makes you work that way. Then the next thing is, where are my hands, okay? I don't want my hands out here, okay? Put your hands in here and bring them straight up. You notice that they come in a very natural position here. And if I were to turn sideways, keeping my hands exactly where they are, I end up in a basic defensive stance, okay? So again, they're right there in front of your shoulders. So the people who move their hands all around, yeah, more apt to get hit, okay? So what I want to try to do with the basics is just keep your hands here. So with my hands here, my feet double shoulder width apart, I am going to step back, and I'm going to utilize what we call the crescent step. And it comes in, it comes around and touches, and then I'm going to pivot on the balls of my feet and drop down to my heels at this point. I want to avoid stepping straight back, because you notice now when I step straight back, what does my torso do? It's continuing to step straight back, which means it's always a target as he's coming at me. So what I'm trying to do here is turn my torso sideways, and as I plant and unwind, I'm keeping my shoulder, my arm, my hip, big bony parts of my leg towards my opponent. If I get hit in any one of those places, I can sustain the shock, okay? If I get hit here, it's a moot point, because these are all soft tissue areas. So I want to try and make sure that he can only hit the more armored shell that I have. So I'm coming back again. So I'm stepping back, stepping around, unwinding, and dropping into my stance. So I end up in this toe heel. We call it toe heel. What is toe heel? Well, I'm going to utilize the this little cross on my floor. This is kind of symbolizes, in a basic sense, the whole Kempo system. But if you're looking at angles of defense and attack, we always start with the square, and then we'll add the X, and then you can start putting other X's on it, and then you put circles into it, and it becomes a system. But we start with the beginning, and the beginning is simply this little cross or plus sign on the floor. And I start with my right foot with the heel on that plus sign, which is running 6 and 12, and my toes on that same line but on the other side of it. So the heel is on this side of the line, my toes are on this side of the line. This keeps, when I turn and pivot and I strike, my body weight is between my legs, okay? And when I pivot back, it stays between my feet. If I were to be on the balance beam, which means putting my foot here and here, and I try and execute my power, my hips only go to this point. So trying to reach you over here, here's my power zone, and it starts to drop as it comes this way. Okay, so I'm going to reach around instead of being able to straight shot. And if I throw my leg back, which we see a lot of in the beginning when people are stepping back and they're kind of stepping here to do their block, now they're trying to punch, and their feet are way off, their back is off here, the punch is over here. In reality, this position, I should be punching over here, so there's a big gap between what we expect and what your body is saying you can do. So the idea with the crescent step is to put yourself in a position where you can work from and do virtually everything. We talk about the toolbox. I want my tools in place. So my hands are where they're supposed to be, my feet are where it's supposed to be, my body's where it's supposed to be. Now I can reach into the toolbox, and if an elbow is called for, or a jab is called for, or a self-defense technique is called for, I can utilize, if I can throw, okay? I can do all kinds of things, sweep. There's all kinds of stuff that I can do if I'm in position and balanced and ready to go. The moment I am not balanced and ready to go, I've just taken half the tools out of my box. There's some things I can do and can't do. And if I pull myself way out of balance, my toolbox becomes extremely limited. And if I know anything at this point in time, I might be able to pivot and do a back kick or something else. But I'm not in a good position from a defensive standpoint because my back is showing, my kidneys are showing, back of my knees are showing. Okay, it's just dangerous. So the toe heel stance, although it seems like it should be a very simple piece, is actually, okay, a very nuanced piece. If you don't have it, it's very difficult to get from here to there. What the crescent does for you is if somebody is pushing me, I can actually take his push and use his push to step me back and turn and pull him into me, hopefully off to the side or something. If I'm stepping straight back with that same attack, he's going to knock me on my back, okay? And the same goes from here. If he's coming here and he hits me, I'm going to end up on my face. So again, the stance, as you're changing them, puts you into a certain position that allows you to use that toolbox again. Now when we change direction, again, when I change direction with an opponent, it'll always be my back foot, okay? And I hesitate to use always and that type of wordage because stuff happens. You can't always, okay? But if you can, you want to try and move your back foot when you're changing direction. So my opponent's over here, my back foot, okay, will turn this way. And I keep my left side, which is in this particular fighting stance, the left side forward stance, okay, is where I want him, okay? Now if I'm here and I'm a left-handed person, or I want to fight right side forward, I'll go this way. It doesn't matter, okay, but as I change direction, it does. I want to keep this person off to one side. And here's why. If I'm here, and I step back here, in this particular case, I can step back in either stance, and it's not going to matter. But if all of a sudden I have to change direction, if my front foot changes direction to meet him, I've just made this opening, and that person can come right in the opening, okay? I can stay here, so my front foot moves, and again, it comes into this opening. So I'm going to do it so the camera can see it. If I'm here, and I'm changing direction, looking at you, I'm looking here now, and I move my front foot, and now you see my center line, it's very easy to attack, okay? So if I'm here and looking at you, my back foot will move, which never lets this go anyplace. So I can stay safe throughout this motion. And this is a tool that you can use whether you're in the ring or standing there at the bar, okay? You have a cocktail in your hand and somebody comes, running in or is rude standing, you're simply here in this position where you're going to adjust your back foot to make sure that he goes this way and not toss you over the back of the bar. So it's a matter of just where you place your feet. It helps you with your balance. Toe heel position is going to allow you to, again, get to a certain spot and then pivot and drive. Okay, so when you're driving your technique and you're square, you're going to be locked down. I use my toes, I use my feet, I use my hips, my body to drop my weight. It's almost like my feet want to grab the carpet, okay, or in this case the mat, and my body acts like a bag of sand where I settle. I don't want to be stiff and tall because that's going to leave me rocking and off balance. So, toe heel. When I'm talking about basics of motion, we talked about the basic blocks, we talked about toe heel stances, okay, and now we've got a whole another video on short one kata as we move into kata. Footwork is going to be a key critical area, but right now there's not a lot of it. We keep you in the horse stance, we keep you in the forward defensive stance, or some people will call it a fighting stance. We're going to teach you the forward bow at the yellow belt level, so you're learning how to drive off the back foot and pivot back and drive off the left foot. Those are all positive aspects. When we move into the actual techniques of doing things, first thing that everybody wants to learn about is the kicking. Okay? And although we're going to do some limited amount of kicking, I want you to realize that in real life, there are too many more counters to kicks than there are to hands. So in hand work, you have lots of things you can do. With a kick, there's lots of things that are more powerful, but there are more counters to it, which means it can be much more dangerous. And again, for seniors, we don't want to be kicking high. You know, this is not kung fu theater where I'm jumping, leaping in the air, and doing spinning hoochie gooch kicks. So when we're talking about the kicks, I want to utilize, again, this center of gravity. So I bring it into the center. So notice my knee comes up, okay? My hands come up, my knee comes up. So I'm here in this balanced position for a moment. And for a lot of us, especially as you get past 50, this part right here gets hard. So one of the key elements is to bring everything to your center. Knee to the center, everything here, so you're standing. Curl your toes back. So I'm going to put my toe on the ground. Here's flat, here's curled. If I'm barefoot, I want to hit with the balls of my feet, which is right here. So I want to, at this point, curl my feet up, and I'll push. Think about pushing on an accelerator. So my hands are here, I bring my knee up, I'm going to push, I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to settle down. What I don't want to do is this. I don't want to throw my leg out. Because when I do so, what's my head do? It tends to snap forward. I lose my balance. So always bring your knee up, push it out, push it back in and down. And what's nice about this particular kick, this is the beginnings of the front snap kick, is that I can go to the knee, the inside of the knee, the groin. I don't have to, I'm not kicking at the head. I'm not even kicking at the stomach, okay? And lots of times just my knee coming up will be enough to make him put his hands down, which means now I'm back to hands and I don't have to worry about feet. But it comes up, I kick it out, I snap it back. So when I'm doing this, my hands are here and I snap it out and I put it back. So always bring this kick back to this tuck position and back here. So I'm here, I thrust my hips behind my kick, I tuck and back. So when I'm doing this, boom, my body weight slides in behind so you can see it from the side. Boom. So you can see that my back butt kind of slide in behind the foot, pulling it back, gets me back upright and balanced. And now I'm back to this. So that's the snap front kick. The side kick, the knee comes to the same place, but our target is different. For the moment, we're going to go to the sides with this. I'm going to keep my toes down and my heel up. My knee comes to the same place, and I rotate my hip so that I hit my target. Now this target can be anywhere from hip to knee to ankle, okay? And all I'm going to do is, again, tuck the knee up, rotate the hip as I kick, rotate it back, put my foot back down. Hands come up, rotate, tuck, touch. Looking at my target, tuck, kick, tuck here. So here we go. Snap, snap, snap. Okay? That's your side kick. My toes are down, my heel is up. I'm hitting with what we call the knife edge, which is from behind your toes here back to your heel. So you can drive your heel into the rib, okay, and that knife edge will catch anything else. I don't want to hit with my toes for obvious reasons. Now, if I got shoes on, there are some things that you're protected from, but good form will keep you from getting your feet caught. So it's much easier to throw you, catching you here than it is if my foot is up. If my foot is up to the side, I have a tendency to be rotating my body out. So on the side kick, toes down, heel up. So those are your two basic kicks. We add one more because in series of self-defense, we utilize the round kick. The round kick is a horizontal kick, but yet my knee still comes to the same place. So we had the front kick where it goes front. We had the side kick that goes side, but they're both linear kicks. The roundhouse kick is going to come around and hit from the side. Boom. So it comes up and snaps. So I'm using here on this target, it comes up, rotates, touches, and back down. Knee comes up, rotates, touches, back down. Okay, so again, I'm here. My knee comes up. I'm going to rotate my hip, slap, bring it back down. Now, by rotating the hip, instead of the foot just slapping, the hip rotates it and drives the kick through what I'm hitting. It's still not a kick I'm going to use generally against the body in real life situations. Sport karate, where I'm working for points and such, that's one thing. Okay? But if I need to hit, I'm going to be hitting, let's say, behind the knee, where I'm going to drive this thing through the back of the knee. If he happens to be on the floor, maybe I side kicked him and he drops it, now I can kick him in the head if his head's down here. So the round kick is a useful tool in certain situations. We generally use the instep, but you'll have people who will use the toes, the balls of the feet, okay? Use the toes generally if you've got shoes on, and it becomes, especially a little pointy shoe, okay, it becomes a deadly weapon. Again, targets are going to be here, behind the knees, okay, kidneys. If they're on the ground and their head is showing, perhaps their head, But again, always remember there are more counters to kicks than there are to hands. So when you start throwing your legs around, you have more apt to be caught and something else happen, and your balance is more off. Especially again, remembering that we're seniors. So again, when I'm doing this front kick drill, 1, 2, side kick, 3, 4, round kick, 5, 6, and back to ground. So again, knee 1, knee 2, knee 3, knee 4, knee 5, knee 6, and back to guard. Okay, so again, my knees come up, and then I push that kick out to where I need it to be. Please give me your feedback on this video. Let me know in class if it helped you, if there are certain things that you'd like to see, and we'll talk to you soon.